Good morning, Tampa Bay. What is going on? Oh, hey, you know what today is, right?
It's Hump Day. Yay!
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We've got a great guest, Ben Whitelaw of RBLR Sports, another local media source down here in good old Tampa Bay. We're going to be talking all kinds of Rays baseball. Evan,
Yes.
are you excited for to get another perspective?
I am.
Good.
Because our perspective is not enjoyed by a lot of people. So I want to see if that perspective is, joined or also on the other side of the coin. And that's fine. You know why? Because opinions are mattered here at Channelside Sports. Unlike other outlets where opinions are just squashed upon and swept under the rug like they're dirty, dirty secrets or some sort of thing like that.
I mean, we say what needs to be said, though.
That's true.
We know that we are fans. We are a voice of the fans. The voice, not yet, soon. But we say what needs to be said. We don't cater to a particular crowd. And look, just because we don't agree with certain things doesn't mean that we're not fans. We say what needs to be said. We talk about like real problems and opportunities and things of that nature. So that's what we do here at Channelside Sports. Thanks everybody for who is tuned in this morning to Channelside in the morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network. Please make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and hit the thumbs up if you're on YouTube as well. That helps push live shows to the main homepage while it's streaming live, which helps everybody.
And hit that notification bell, which will let you know when we go live.
Ding, ding. Jesus. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to step aside. I'll still be here, though. I'm going to step aside. We're going to let Ben slide in here and chop it up on Rays baseball with Evan. And let's I
got to do the intro for him. I got to do the intro for him.
You can do. Okay. Go right ahead. You go right ahead.
He's got one of the most electrifying mustaches in all of Twitter lands. He goes by @DogPancake73 on Twitter. He is the co-host of Ray's podcast, RBLR Sports. Please welcome to the show, Ben Whitelaw.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. That's a great intro. I love it. And I tried to make my name do like the little thing you guys did with the @ after the name. So just
it's
trying
all
to
good,
fit
man.
in here.
I tried to channel my inner Pat McAfee, so I hope I did well introing you.
Oh, perfect.
So, yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Ben. We know we want to have some other perspectives of Rays baseball because we have garnered some negative attention from some of the stuff we said about Kevin Cash and if he's needed as a manager anymore, and that's okay. But I first wanted to start off with you. From your perspective, what is your thoughts about the season so far with the Rays? I mean, they've started off strong, and then it's been just kind of like I've said this on the show before. It's been peaks and valleys with this team. So far, right now, we're kind of headed back up to the mountaintop as a peak because, we won last night again, taking 2 out of the 4 so far for the Red Sox. So give me your perspective so far in the season with the Rays.
It's been a bit of a tough season compared to the recent stretch we've seen from this team. 2019 was really good. Even 2018, they were like 500, and they were pretty good then too. Coming off back-to-back top records in the AL. Expectations were high this season, but I think a lot of people on Twitter have seen it at least that only 9 of the original 26 on the opening day roster have been able to stay healthy. So, if you told me before the season that 17 different players on the active roster would have at least one IL stint and that the Rays would still be 7 games over 500 at this point, like I would be amazed and grateful, but also a little confused as to how they did it. But, they're a scrappy team and they're getting it done.
I think last night ESPN reported that there's 16 guys on the IL now for the Rays, which is the most in Major League Baseball right now, which boggles my mind. And it kind of harkens to me back to that Yankees team. I think it was a couple of years ago. I think it was 2019 where they had so many guys on the IL and they were still managing to win games and it boggled people's minds. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you. This team is a scrappy team and they're stringing the wins together, even though it was very frustrating over the weekend when they get swept by the Rays, by the Reds. But it looks like the Reds are just giving everybody problems because last night they walked off, or they beat the Yankees last night, stringing in a walk-off victory with them too as well. So the Reds are just making people's games just very frustrating right now. So Ben, last night's game against the Red Sox, Chris Sale was breezing through the lineup until his bullpen kind of really kind of spoiled that game for him. What are your thoughts of last night's game headed into this night's matchup for Game 3 against the Red Sox?
Chris Sale was on a mission. Like, he had some really electric stuff. The command wasn't great, but the Rays hitters were kind of doing him a couple favors every once in a while. This lineup that they rolled out last night, it's probably their best possible lineup right now that they can put out against lefty starters, but it still wasn't that great. So quality of contact was good the first couple innings, but Chris Sale is still Chris Sale. He's one of the toughest lefties in the game, especially when he's at least relatively healthy, which is how he looked last night. But again, they grinded it out. They clawed their way back after some mistakes, and you'd like to not have those mistakes, but I think the resiliency that they showed after that is very encouraging.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up the word resilient. I think that's one of the key words with this team this year has been resiliencies, because of how they've kind of bounced back after all the injuries and to me, and I've been really critical about this team so far this year, I think it's the quality of play, because of the really bad base running and the quality of play on the field too, as well, with all the errors that they've had in the infield and outfield. I'm glad that they strung out a win last night against the Red Sox too, because Chris Sale was just really channeling his inner aggressiveness coming from that minor league start he had over the weekend, where he was just destroying the clubhouses in Pawtucket. So I'm glad that the Rays were able to beat the bullpen. I wanted them to get after Chris Sale and make him really mad at the Trop last night, but it was good for them to come out the win and the victory from last night. Headed into the All-Star break, we still got tonight and tomorrow against the Red Sox, and then we've got a weekend series against the surprisingly streaky now Baltimore Orioles, which have now won a 9th straight game last night and are kind of in the thick of everything in the AL East, where now everybody besides the Yankees are really kind of separated by a couple of games. Headed into the weekend series against the Orioles, are you expecting kind of a fight against Baltimore now? Because now it's so surprising to me now that the Baltimore Orioles, we can have this conversation about, hey, the Orioles are giving everybody problems in the AL East. They might be in the playoff pitch with everybody else, with Toronto ailing, and the Red Sox, coming back from being in the last place picture early on in the season. Now the Rays too, in the thick of it. Expectations going into the weekend series against Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore has been phenomenal. I think they've rattled off 8 or 9 in a row now.
9 in a row last night. 9 in a row.
I mean, I know they were doing it a bit against the Angels. They're playing the Cubs now too, so take that with a grain of salt. But they're still a great team. I think they should be 500 by the end of the season. I mean, they're there right now, so I think they can maintain that pace. I don't think they're going to win out the rest of the season here and make the playoffs. I think they're still going to miss out, but a lot of it has to do with health. They're one of the healthiest teams in the league, along with the Yankees. I don't think they have a single bat that's on the IL right now in Baltimore. And they've got, a decent group of players, but there's really not much major league depth after that. So everybody gets tested with injuries. I'm not wishing any injuries on the Orioles, but I think they'll eventually kind of slow down. But this series should be interesting. I think they're going to put up a pretty good fight.
I don't know, man. I kind of want it. I kind of want the Orioles to make it a problem for everybody in the AL East. It'll be fun. It'll be fun chaos, especially going into August and the late September games when it comes down to see who's going to be making the playoffs. I kind of want that to happen. So, all right. So heading into the All-Star break, the Rays already did make a trade over the weekend, getting Christian Bethancourt from the Oakland Athletics. Kind of a catcher upgrade. He's also kind of a Swiss Army knife too. They can punch him in as a DH and also first base as well. Foreseeable after the All-Star break, headed into the trade deadline, what kind of moves do you see the Rays really doing to kind of have that upper hand against the Red Sox and the Blue Jays headed into the August and September months? Do you see them really being aggressive buyers of this trade deadline? Do you see them really going after any kind of big names or putting together any prospects, packages that way? I mean, I know the Rays aren't really big trade guys when it comes to putting together and letting go prospects, but do you see maybe something like that happening this season?
Yeah, definitely. With there was no Rule 5 draft in the last offseason, so this offseason is going to be really crazy. They have probably 10, maybe 11 guys they need to make decisions on as to do they want to keep them in the organization or not. So A lot of big decisions to be made, and we already saw 2 Rule 5 guys get shipped off for Bethencourt. So, that takes care of a couple, but there's still going to be a lot of moves. I don't think the Rays ever really operate as, strictly buyers or sellers. They're kind of always doing both, where they're trying to upgrade at the margins, usually by shipping off some Rule 5 talent. And then maybe they'll make an addition. Like, I don't think anything as big as Nelson Cruz was last year, but, we could see maybe a couple of relievers or two, because you can never have too much pitching. Brandon Lau's on his way back, so that makes it a little, interesting with the bats. I don't necessarily think they'll go out and get one. Maybe they could try at center field, but the center field market is non-existent outside of Brian Reynolds or whatever. Catcher market's really expensive. And then, Garrett Cooper, Josh Bell, those are 2 guys that are popular, but they're going to be expensive as well, especially with Cooper just being named to the All-Star roster for the National League. So I'm thinking some pitching upgrades. Well, maybe not necessarily upgrades, but just adding some bullpen pieces.
Does it have to be expensive, though, for the Rays? Because, I mean, we've had one of the top, minor league prospect systems in all of baseball for God knows how long. Does it have to be expensive, though? I mean, can it come to a time where the Rays can stop doing this with their prospects and say, hey, you know what? Why don't we make a huge move in the trade deadline and just kind of push this, trying to get this over the mountain? I mean, I think it comes to a point where it's stop coveting these guys and just let's pull the trigger on some major trades, even though if they're a rental for the next couple of months, just to get them over that hump, to get them back to the World Series and get a World Series ring, though. That's my only issue with them so far, has been they covet these guys for so long, and then, other teams are making huge moves at the trade deadline to get them back in there. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Ben? I mean, isn't it time for them just to stop coveting these guys so much?
I think they could. We did see that last year with Nelson Cruz. That was arguably like the biggest midseason acquisition in franchise history. So, and we saw that it doesn't always work out. So really,
True.
Getting to the playoffs is, you got to get there, and then the rest is almost a coin toss. We saw the Atlanta Braves get in with 88 wins, and yeah, they were hot in the second half, but nobody expected that. I don't even think they expected that. So the goal is to get to the playoffs. So if they think they can get to the playoffs with their, current roster and the guys that are coming back getting healthy, then that's probably going to be the goal. If they want to, make a statement and go after a big bat, it's probably going to cost someone like maybe Aranda. I don't think Taj Bradley. I feel like he's probably untouchable, but yeah, it's really hard to say, because there are going to be some more moves for sure. Like, the Rays are not done. They have a big roster crunch coming up. So it just depends if the price is right, the timing is right, and they're, comfortable parting with an Aranda, Xavier Edwards, maybe even Josh Lowe. The Rays take calls on everybody. There's nobody that's, off the table completely, but it's going to take a lot to get some of those bigger prospects from the Rays.
I mean, we don't want to trade for any slapdick prospects or anything like that. We
Right.
don't want to do that at all. All right, so these next couple of topics I want to get into are kind of like the areas that Danny and I like to harp on the most is, and I'll go for one. I know Kevin Kiermaier is headed back to the IL again, possible hip surgery coming up, and we touched upon this yesterday on the show. Is it possible that we have probably seen the last of Kevin Kiermaier in a Rays jersey?
Yeah, I listened to you all talk about it yesterday. I did my homework a little bit before coming on. I like to do my research, but
Good. We like
anyways.
to have guests that are prepared. That's good. That's good.
Right. Yeah, of course. So, yeah, it's hard to speculate on his future. I know he's going to see a specialist after the All-Star break. So, anything that we're thinking of now is kind of up in the air, but I'd like to see him come back. I know his club option for next year is $13 million, which sounds like a lot, but he's
It's
generated
a lot for the Rays, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's generated, surplus value every year that he's been on the team. Per Fangraphs, he's generated, the Rays would have had to go out and spend $185 million in free agency to get the production they've gotten from KK during the length of his career. They've only paid him $46 million, so he's been roughly 4 times greater. Or no, a little bit more than 4 times greater than the value of his contract. So I like the production. It's still pretty good, even with him, getting a little bit older. Coming off an injury does make it tricky, and his buyout is only $2.5 million. So it's a lot of hurry up and wait and see until we get that diagnosis from the specialist. But I would like to see them bring him back. He's been a great player for a long time.
I mean, he's been the elder statesman for the Rays too as well. I mean, it is a tricky situation because especially coming off of a hip injury, and if you have to go for surgery, he's probably obviously going to lose a step or two, maybe coming back, especially trying to do the Superman catches in center field. Now, I mean, Brett Phillips did a great catch the other night, so I mean, you never know. We might have a replacement with Brett Phillips. I don't want to see KK go. He is a fan favorite of mine. Those baby green eyes are magical. You ladies out there, remember they're baby green, not baby blue. All right, so Ben, one of the hot topics that Danny and I touch on a lot is Kevin Cash. And Danny, I hope you're going to join in on this conversation, hopefully, instead of being in the background. So we've talked about this a lot, where having a manager who's been there for quite some time right now, 2 Manager of the Year awards, great, 100 win season, great, going to the World Series, great. But Danny and I think is this could be the time, or if they don't get back to the promised land of the playoffs, could maybe the Rays think about making a shakeup and going out and looking at something else, or maybe changing it up managerial wise, because we've seen managers get fired for less, but when you're constantly not getting over the mountaintop, maybe it's time to make a change. What are your thoughts? I mean, everybody's opinion on this varies from maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. I kind of want to get your perspective about Kevin Cash and maybe his tenure here, with the Rays.
So I think it was about like 2 or 3 years ago, I read this book called The MVP Machine. Really good. It's by Travis Sawchik and someone else. But they basically have a whole section talking about modern managers and what they do. And Kevin Cash fits that to a T. Like, he's essentially a middleman for the front office to the players.
Wait, hold on.
Really good.
Is he a yes man though? Is he a yes man?
I don't think so. I have a couple decisions that he's made recently that are like completely against whatever spreadsheet he's using. So it's interesting, some of his decisions, but he gets good results. So yeah, but basically modern managers are taking the information from the front office guys, breaking it down for the players, making it digestible. And he's also kind of like throwing in his baseball knowledge and experience when necessary, because he was a former bullpen coach. He knows how to manage workloads. That's his specialty. So I think he's a really good guy for this job. Even last night, he did an anti-analytics thing when he pinch hit Mejia for Choi in the 6th inning. Matt Strawman, I think his name was, for Boston. He's a lefty, and he's tough against left-handers, but left-handers have actually hit better than him in his career, and even this season too. So it's a pretty strong track record. And Choi obviously is a lefty. Mejia was coming in to pinch hit right-handed. So analytics say leave Choi in. Well, Cash said context of the game matters too. I'm going to pinch hit Mejia, comes through with an RBI single. So there are times when he goes against the spreadsheet, and when he does, he's pretty good at it. So he's got really good instincts. And I really don't know who else could be a better manager than him, like stepping in right away with this group of guys.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the things that we get pounded upon on social media is, well, if it's not Kevin Cash, then who is it? Well, obviously we don't know that. I mean, there's plenty of guys that are bench coaches, pitching coaches out there that can maybe step in for the job. But, when is, give me your honest take on this. When is enough where Kevin's not getting it done as a manager? Where we look, accolades are great. Like, Manager of the Year award, 2-time Manager of the Year award is great. 100-win seasons are great. I love this fact that we have banners at the Trop where it's the AL East Championship, wild card, and all that. But I want a World Series banner hung in the stadium. Now, I know it's not just the manager's deal; it's a whole team effort. But could there be some point at where enough is enough? Maybe we need to make a change.
I don't know. That's hard to say. There's always been part of me that wants to see Mike Zunino be the Rays manager someday. So maybe when he's done being groomed for that job, sure.
Dude, I would love to see Florida Man be the manager.
Yeah, I
that
feel
would be
like
fantastic.
He's a smart guy too. He knows his stuff. So that'd be cool for Zunino someday. But really, I don't really see Cash going anywhere anytime soon. I'd hope they lock him up for a long time. He speaks the language of the guys who are pressing all the buttons on the computer, and he speaks the language of the guys, in his bullpen, in his dugout. So it's a rare find, and he does such a great job with, especially with the resources that he's given too.
True. I will give him that. I mean, I wish Stewie Sternberg, and this kind of Danny, did you want to comment on this, or should we kind of go into our next topic about the stadium and Stewie Sternberg?
I mean, they all kind of go hand in hand, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
like, for me, and this is where I guess it's different for a baseball fan. And Evan and I have talked about this ad nauseum over the last couple of months, where it's like, if we're talking about any other sport, like look at Lovie Smith with the Chicago Bears. Made the playoffs, fired. Fire with a winning record. Like, at some point, for me, when I look at it, you got to say, okay, like, almost getting there is great, but at some point you have to get there. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we won 100 games and that's great, but I see fans all the time go, like, that's always their fallback. Yeah, we won 100 games last year. Like, but it hasn't carried over to this year yet. I know we have injuries and things of that nature, but like, why are we as Rays fans one of the only fan bases that don't have like a World Series or bust mentality? Like, that's always been my question, is why are our expectations are low? There's always like, oh, we don't spend money. Oh, we have injuries. Yeah, but last year we were good. 2 years in a row, Kevin Cash was good. And you're like, yeah, but what is that doing for us now? Why can't we have a higher expectation and a higher bar as Rays fans than what we currently have? Because it seems like it's just like we're just settling for whatever we get and just being content. And I don't like that mentality.
Right, and that's fair. I think the comparison to other sports like the NFL or basketball, like they've got a salary cap, so they're pretty much on like a level playing field for the most part with spending resources, unless somebody's tanking and trying to get a high draft pick. Um, I know soccer over in Europe, they don't have a salary cap, but they fire their managers after a 2-game losing streak, so they're not the most level headed
They're brutal
to
over
begin
there,
with.
man. They'll fire you if you look at the rest wrong.
Yeah. So I think comparing him to other baseball managers is probably the most accurate way to assess, how much or when is enough going to be enough. And it's still hard to say. I mean, a lot of Yankees fans, they want Aaron Boone fired every other day, but realistically, he's doing a pretty good job. I mean, I know they have they have the most resources, but he makes really good decisions just like Cash. And I don't want to like praise Aaron Boone because I hate the Yankees so much, but when they signed him to an extension, I think it was either this offseason or the previous offseason, like people were confused, but like who else is going to take that job? Like being a Major League Baseball manager it's different now, and I think it's a lot more difficult because you have to know so many different aspects of the game. It's not just knowing your playing experience and knowing the instincts that you had and stuff like that. Like you got to know front office decisions, you got to know matchups, you have to know all the advanced things, you have to know how to break down data for guys. So until the Rays find someone who can do that, which I don't see happening anytime soon, I'm cool with Cash. I think ownership could be spending more money. I mean, Cash
The
can't
Rays.
spend
The
money
Rays.
out of
I
his
think
pocket.
the Rays are the only team that operate with a salary cap because of
They do
our
cap
ownership.
themselves.
They do.
Yeah.
Which kind of coincides with the next thing, the stadium drama, the stadium dilemma. Obviously, the major announcement that St. Pete Mayor Ken Welch had a couple weeks ago was not a major announcement. It was just another pushback of the site and the bidding of what's going on. And now that's so corny, Danny. God damn it, dude. Now that they're looking at the fairgrounds site, the state fairgrounds over in the I-4, I-75 corridor, which could be a possible site. I wanted to kind of get your take about the stadium drama. Is this ever going to get done? Is this just going to be pushed off until the expired contract with the city of St. Pete in 2027, where the Rays are now 5 short years away from going somewhere else, or maybe going across the bridge into Tampa? What's your thoughts on the whole stadium drama and dilemma?
I'm just so glad the Montreal stuff is done.
Yes.
That was so irritating. I feel like that would have really tested my ability to be a fan. But yeah, as long as they stay in the area, that's fine. Obviously, we all want them in Tampa. That would improve the attendance numbers. We get a cool new shiny stadium. The thing is here, ownership just doesn't want to pay for it. So fans don't really want to pay for it either. Like, I don't know if I want my public tax money to be used on a stadium that's for seasonal jobs anyways. And like, I don't know, there are better investments like schools, hospitals, roads.
Yep.
If we ever want to get like a high-speed rail system or something, that might be something we look into. But yeah, I'm just glad the sister city thing is done, and I hope ownership can, maybe part with some of their money and eat the cost of at least half of a new stadium.
I think it should be more than half. It's got to
Yeah.
be. They've got to put together a package where it's like, look, we're gonna put in 75% of this, and then
Yeah,
you
that would
guys
be
can
nice.
cover the rest. I mean, at this point, it's almost exhausting to talk about because every single season we have to have some kind of, oh, we've got a major announcement about this. Oh, we're going to be doing this. Oh, we're going to be looking at these kind of sites. And it just comes to the point where it's like, as a fan, it's like, just get it done. We're done talking about where it's going to be. Just, you guys are the dumbest, smartest people in the world, where you guys can't just figure it out logistically. And I know it just comes down to politics and money and everything, but it's just, it's going to come to the point where it's not going to get done, and then you're going to lose the team altogether, and then everybody loses in this area. And it's almost like a sad fact where that could be a possible reality if they don't get this done. And Danny, we talked about the site at the fairgrounds, which would be a perfect site for the stadium. You have so much land over there.
Yep.
You have the I-4, I-75 corridor, where now you have Bright Line trains, which does a monorail from Orlando to Tampa. You get all that traffic from Lakeland and possibly Kissimmee over into the stadium site. It's like, that could be a no-brainer. Now, I know the Ybor site could have been great. State Fairgrounds could be great, but it's just like, guys, just get this done. We all want to get this done so everybody's happy in this, and we can just stop talking about it in length because it's so tiring right now. It's a broken record, which I just want to smash. So, Ben, I want to ask you, what if you had the decision right now, where would be the perfect site for a new Rays stadium?
I kind of like that I-4 275 area. Fairgrounds type of thing might be kind of cool. It seems pretty accessible, so I think that would be a good spot. But I don't know. I don't have too much of an opinion on where it should be. I just know it needs to be somewhere in Tampa. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if you listened in maybe a week and a half ago. So I was picked to be at a focus group for the Rays a couple of years ago. They brought in a group of fans in with this consultant that they hired to pick a new stadium site. And my idea was, hey, let's put it where the fairgrounds at. And everybody in the room kind of looked at me kind of like I was stupid. I'm like, well, no, this makes sense. And it kind of like what I just spouted off was, you have if you're, trying to gain more attendance at these games is, look, you don't even have to do it as a 40,000 person stadium, size it down to 20, 25, 27,000. And then you can have all that traffic coming in from both sides of the Central Florida area and plus the Tampa area too. And then you have the casino crowd that you can attract people from. You can maybe get some sponsorship dollars from the Seminole Hard Rock. And then you have all that area land, because most of that land in that area where the fairgrounds at is mostly like, I think it's warehouses. It's not really a big residential area. So if you're definitely looking to buy land there, you can. You've got Wing House across the street too. You can get a partnership with them. So it just, I say that would be the most central site, because it'd be for people down south where I'm at in Sarasota, Bradenton. It's like a straight shot on 75 instead of trying to go over two bridges. You got to go over the Skyway, and then you got to go over Howard Franklin. And then people in the Tampa area, all they have to do is take the side streets from Hillsborough Avenue and then Nebraska. You can take those side streets to get to the stadium from where you're at in the Tampa area instead of going over the Howard Franklin. So to me, I think the state fairgrounds would make the most sense too, because also, I mean, they have conventions there all the time. You could build out a really good stadium site where you can have, hey, we've got this convention going on this weekend, but we also have the Rays games too as well. So if you're done with the convention, head to the Rays game. So that to me would be the most logical site, would be that site. I mean, I like the Ybor site that they had. I mean, you have the central area where Sparkman's Wharf is, so you're getting that crowd from, all the shops and the restaurants and all that crowd too. But when hockey starts, you're now competing with the Lightning crowd too as well. So I think the I-4, I-75 corridor where the state fairgrounds makes the most sense. So
I totally agree. What was it? July 10th? What was that? The 4th year anniversary or something, where the Rays had announced their stadium. So like, where is this stadium located? Is this off the I-4 275 corridor that you're talking about?
No, I think that's an Ebor. I think that looks
because it could be.
Yeah, because look where this part where the highway is, and then kind of like we're to the right where all these like brick. Well, they almost look like brick buildings. That to me looks like kind of like Ebor. When you're getting off, if you're headed from the Selmans, where the exits are coming off, that kind of looks like that. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah, because that doesn't
some good detective work.
Yeah, that doesn't look like the State Fairgrounds. That looks more like when you're coming off of exit 7 or 8, headed into the Sparkman's Wharf area where the Amalie Arena is at. That's what it looks like to me.
It's possible.
Where Ebor's at. That's what it looks like.
It would have been a nice stadium. Oh, what could have been?
What could have been? Yes, what could have been.
But like, the I-4 275 corridor is great. Like just like you said at the State Fairgrounds. No, they even have the Strawberry Festivals in March. Baseball's already underway in March too. So, there's like there's things that they could do where they could partner and they could make these things happen to where now you're embracing the community. We talk about that all the time. And like I'm not sure, like what your opinion is on this, but Evan and I are always saying that the Rays are kind of almost like the redheaded stepchild when it comes to like community involvement. And I'm not saying that they're just saying, "Oh, screw the community" or anything like that. But it seems like, like if you look at what the Tampa Bay Lightning do, right? It's night and day in comparison to how the Lightning have embraced the community versus how the Rays have. And a lot of my thought process is Stu Sternberg really, at the end of the day, being the owner of the Rays, has a lot of say in saying, hey, we're getting this deal done. You've looked at other teams from other sports going, hey, if we can't get a stadium, we're leaving. Hey, if we can't get a stadium, we're leaving. And you hold a lot of cards, and it almost just seems like he doesn't really care. Like the way that they just keep pushing it off and pushing it off. And then my thought is, okay, well, if he doesn't necessarily want to move it into Tampa, does a lot of that have to do with the fact that he does not live in Tampa? So he does not want to have the burden of always being compared to like, hey, look at what the Lightning are doing in the community. Hey, look at what the Buccaneers are doing in the community versus what the Rays are doing, which, like I said, the Rays do a good job, but the Lightning especially are above and they're head and shoulders of how every franchise should operate, in my opinion, like in terms of involving the community with them. What are your thoughts on how Stu Sternberg is not necessarily handling this situation?
Yeah, he could really just copy what the Lightning do, and it would be great. The Lightning are, I think, a couple of years ago they were voted like the best like sports franchise in America or something like that.
Mhm.
And it shows like they do everything right. The Rays are starting to do a little bit better with the marketing. They got some cool billboards out there, but like 2 or 3 billboards isn't going to cut it really. Like they do have to do more. So. If I were Stu Sternberg, I'd just poach all the marketing and community involvement people from the Lightning and, pay them whatever they're asking and then make it happen. But, the fact that he's not doing that or anything close to that does kind of feel like maybe he just doesn't care that much. Like this is like a side investment that he doesn't really want to think about much. So
as I said before, he's
yeah.
one of the dumbest smart people in the world. I mean, he's a Wall Street guy. He's got Wall Street guys around him, and you would think, hey, the value of this team is really. I've like 50x my initial investment with this team. Maybe it's time I should sell it to somebody that will take care of this. So, Ben, before we get you out of here, predictions for the rest of the way for the Rays playoffs, World Series. What do you got?
I'm thinking World Series. I think that every season, no matter what, that's just how my brain works. I really like the addition of Bethancourt. Super underrated, and it kind of says a lot about the state of this team. But he comes in and he's immediately a top 5 hitter in the lineup. Like he's not a bad player, but this team is also really banged up. So I think he helps. I like his versatility. Pitching staff is pretty good. They're top 10 this year in FIP and a bunch of other metrics. Defense is improving. They're now 10th in outs above average. So they're a slightly above average defensive team. Brandon Lau is extremely underrated base runner. Get him back and base running is going to start to improve. So, offense is still what it is, but they are up to a 138 WRC plus in July. So third best in the majors in July. It's only July 13th, but It's better than the 101 they have on the season. So things are starting to look up.
Awesome, man. Well, Ben, tell everybody where they can follow you and they can hear your podcast at.
Oh yeah, that's true. I always forget
You
that
gotta
I do
plug
that.
your stuff before you leave, bro.
Yeah,
You gotta plug it.
Names on the screen there. Dog Pancake 73. It's an old gamer tag, so just don't ask questions there. I do the Rays podcast for RBLR Sports. We are at RBLR Sports on every social media thing. We record once a week, so I'm used to the early morning stuff. We usually go on Saturdays. And yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate this. This was great.
Thanks a lot, man. Ben Whitelaw, thanks for coming on the show. We'll have you back soon, man.
Appreciate it, brother.
See you.
Thank you.
So do we just jump right into? We got to jump right into your boy. We're gonna jump right into it.
I'm telling you, we talk about it seems like we chime about these things and then all of a sudden they explode on the social media platforms. It's really weird. It's almost like Big Brother is listening in.
I mean, I know for a fact, and I've done enough investigative work, that our local media people do pay attention.
Oh, that's a given.
100%.
That's a given. I mean, come on. It's just writing's on the wall, by the way, on that sort of topic. Hell yeah.
Do you find it crazy that Lamar Jackson is not considered a top 10 quarterback after last season, considering that he was injured for the latter half of the season? Like, how do you have a former MVP who is still playing at a very, very high level not be a top 10 quarterback in the league? That's ridiculous.
I don't know if you're being sarcastic about this or not, because I agree with him not being in the top 10.
Do you? Because of the injury from last year?
The injuries and also the injuries, and also, you know, we talked about this in length yesterday, is who he has around him. He just has Mark Andrews. That's it.
Right.
Now I know Lamar puts up gaudy numbers too as well, but comparing him to the other guys on the list, do we have that list, by the way?
I'm gonna pull up a list.
I can somewhat agree with him not being. I can somewhat agree with him not being in that top 10 conversation, because of just the sheer talent he doesn't have around him, and you know, the way I can see that him not being in there, because there's.
Let me ask you this: at number 9 on this list, Evan, is Deshaun Watson.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on. So they put a guy on this. So are they predicting this season, or are they going off of last season?
These are ESPN's top 10 quarterbacks for 2022 that just came out.
Okay, so so depending on if Watson is so apparently, so his punishment is now going to be 4 to 6 games, possibly.
Right.
So if they're predicting this, which I hate this, because this is a stupid prediction, and I hate these dumb lists for the predictions for this year. Okay, so I'm gonna base this on if Deshaun Watson only has a 4 or 6 game suspension, then I can see that happening. I can see Deshaun being over Lamar. Now, if Deshaun has a 12 game or a full season suspension, then this list makes no sense whatsoever.
But for me, like, I look at it and I go, okay, even if Deshaun Watson only is suspended for 4 to 6 games and not the full season, even if Deshaun Watson is not suspended at all, he's got 1 wide receiver on that team.
Yes, but he also has 2 great running backs.
That's not going to make him a better quarterback.
Well,
unless you're going to track it down.
One is a passing back.
Right. But I mean, like, Lamar Jackson's now going to have his 2 passing running backs, and J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards coming back.
Just not as good as Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Right. No, I'm not saying that. But, you know, if we're going to compare kind of, you know, apples to apple, Mark Andrews is a better pass catching
tight end. Yes.
Tight end than Amari Cooper is a pass catching wide receiver at this stage in his career.
It's funny because now both of these guys are in the same division.
Right.
And then you have one that didn't play all of last season, and he's could be possibly out half of this, maybe a quarter of the season this season.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tough list. I mean, if you've got Deshaun over Lamar, I don't know if I can agree with him being outside the top 10 now.
And Russell Wilson at number 8.
See, I would have had Russ. Yeah, Russ at 8 is fine with me because we don't know how he's. I mean, obviously we've heard stuff out of training camp where he's just dazzling everybody, where the gelling of everybody with him is great, but we don't really know how that's going to translate into the regular season. I mean, he's got all the talent around him in Denver.
I mean, Denver last year. How many times did you hear it from pretty much every single media outlet that Denver was a quarterback away?
Yep.
And here's what's funny is now they got one of the best quarterbacks of our generation. that's on the team now, so they are no longer a quarterback away.
Exactly.
And sidebar, how do you feel if you're Teddy Bridgewater knowing that you were the quarterback on the team that was a quarterback away?
Teddy's gotten such a bad rap, man. I feel bad for Teddy. If he wouldn't have gotten if he wouldn't have gotten injured in Minnesota, he'd probably still be starting in Minnesota.
It's entirely possible.
It is. I'm telling you.
And then the Commanders. They're the Commanders again now, right? Yeah, they're the Commanders. It's damn near impossible to keep up with that team. But I mean, the Commanders probably would have kept Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins gets he gets a bad rap.
I don't know why he does.
Every measurable statistic outside of playoff wins,
he puts
up in the top 6.
He puts up great numbers every single year. I don't know why there's so much hate. Maybe because of his attitude. That's why he gets so much hate.
You like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I pick him up in fantasy if I need a backup quarterback. I mean, he's serviceable in fantasy.
Oh, for sure, 100%. So they're okay, and here's where I always have issues with analysts is they're saying Aaron Rodgers is once again going to have the best season out of all quarterbacks in the NFL. And we already know how I love Aaron Rodgers because I'm a fan of the game and he is a great quarterback. But Aaron Rodgers had Devontae Adams for the last handful of years. He's had Randall Cobb off and on, between Dallas stints and things like that. But, dude, what are we talking about? You've got Alan Lazard and Sammy Watkins as your wide receiver combination. And all of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to make chicken salad out of chicken shit?
It's possible.
But it's just
with that new tattoo,
right? Yeah, I mean, hey, that tattoo is actually kind of sweet, especially since he has a meaning to him.
Okay, well, yeah, if it's got a meaning, that's fine. Yeah, it's a tough question to call, especially this with Lamar. Because I like Lamar. I want Lamar to come down here. So,
oh, do you? I didn't know that.
I think everybody knows that by now.
Just wait till that trend starts.
I know. I mean, he should. God, maybe I should retract my statement. He should be in the top. I want to see the other names on the list.
I can. I'll read them off here real quick. So we got Aaron Rodgers at 1, Patrick Mahomes at 2, Josh Allen at 3,
okay,
Tom Brady at number 4, Swaggy Joe Burrow at number 5, Matthew Stafford at 6, Herbert at 7, Russell Wilson at 8, Deshaun Watson at 9. And good old Dak Prescott. How about them boys at number 10?
Okay, so yeah, Dak needs to get out. Lamar could be in. That's a great list. I don't know about the ranking of it, but that's a great list. It's a great top 10 list. Like Herbert should be up there a little bit higher than that, and Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be at number 1.
Do you think that CeeDee Lamb was a product of Amari Cooper being on the field, though?
I think we will see this season if that is.
I think he's a good wide receiver, but I look at a lot of it in terms of like Golden Tate in Detroit with Calvin Johnson. How Calvin Ridley looked next to Julio Jones, where you've got these guys that are out there. And Amari Cooper has kind of been like an Odell Beckham career. He's had a couple like highlight plays, and then he's just been like a solid receiver, not a standout wide receiver, not like oh my God, he's going to destroy us, but a respectable, hey, we have to make sure that we've got somebody on this guy wide receiver.
Kind of like how Robert Woods was in LA.
Yes.
With Cooper Kupp. Okay.
Yeah.
I can kind of see that.
So I look at that and go, okay, well, are you guys giving Dak Prescott that much credit because he's in Dallas, because we know how the media loves to pander to Dallas. Which, I mean, whatever, it's fair because they've probably got the largest fan base in the NFL, and that's fine.
Bunch of delusional idiots.
We were good 30 years ago.
I know. We had back-to-back Super Bowls in the 90s.
Troy Aikman, baby. I'm not. To me, it's weird. It's just Deshaun Watson was ranked as high as number 4 by these. So this list this is not from ESPN. This is from NFL executive coaches and players.
Okay, all right.
Told. Deshaun Watson is as high as number 4.
Listen, when he was not in trouble, Deshaun was in the top 5 conversation.
Right. And it's hard for me to put a guy in the top 4, let alone the top 10, when he's A, coming into a new situation, B, didn't play a single snap last year, didn't participate in OTAs and training camp and all of that. It's just hard to say, oh yeah, he's not going to miss a step. He's not going to miss a beat because you don't know.
I will see him being rusty maybe the first couple of weeks, and then he'll be in the pocket. And that's all depending on what the punishment is, because now they're going back and forth about, because I know the NFL proposed a 12-game suspension, and then the NFLPA was like, I don't think so.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just depending on, and this could be dragged out till God knows when, about when the punishment's coming down.
I mean, at least they're talking, like, what's happening with Alvin Kamara? We still don't know what's going on with Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, still don't know with him. They're saying 6 with him.
Maybe,
but it's crazy, Danny. How, and somebody brought this up yesterday, how if Watson and Kamara could only have maybe 4 to 6 games each, but then Calvin Ridley gets suspended a full year
for like $1,200
for betting.
Right.
It's crazy to me how the punishments don't really fit the crime when it comes to these suspensions. It's nuts. You can get. And it's funny because how the NFL props up these betting sites, no pun intended, props up these betting sites all the time, every single week during the season. And then one of the guys does it and he's out for a full year, but these 2 other guys can do crazy sexual assaults allegedly against I don't know how many women now.
25, I think now.
I don't know how. I've lost count now. 60. I heard it was like 28 or whatever. And then another guy, beats the crap out of his chick, but only gets like 4 to 6 games. But another guy just bets. Doesn't harm anybody except for his bank account. But he gets suspended a full year.
I mean, maybe that's part of, like federal law of allowing sports gambling and partnerships with gambling. Maybe that's, something deeper than what we know on the surface in terms of.
Yeah, but at this point, who gives a shit if you bet on a game? You're not expecting the outcome.
When you're out injured.
Yeah, you're not affecting the outcome if you're not even on the goddamn field.
Well, I mean, Pete Rose is never going to get in the Hall of Fame for betting on himself.
Well, that's true.
You know what I mean? We have this weird stigma in this country of sports betting.
Making money back.
Right.
Okay.
Dude, sports betting got passed on the last election here in the state of Florida. And we still can't legally bet on sports in the state of Florida. And we've got freaking Hard Rock right down the street from here.
I was so mad too. I had a nice parlay that I could have hit maybe a couple grand on. And then they said, oh yeah, you can't bet. And I'm like, come on. I could have won.
I don't understand why.
It's because I think that the state legislation and then the Seminole tribe that they couldn't have it or something like that. It didn't. Yeah.
I just find it weird because everything that you read now is like, oh, well, DraftKings should be here soon. And this company should be here soon. And that company should be here soon. And you're like, yeah, but what about Hard Rock, who is already here? They're a Seminole tribe, which is a Florida designated tribe. They've got designated sites. Why aren't you allowing them to have their own sports? It's such a the mind-boggling experience. I don't know.
They're not making me contribute to my betting
issue. They're not. NFL on CBS put up a look. I love these kind of things. I'm
putting the glasses on for this one.
these are like these types of graphics are the stuff that I used to make for Gridiron on Tap that used to go viral all the time. So I love looking at these because I think they're fun. So it's 3rd and long, and you need a sack off the edge. Who are you going to choose from this list? I mean, look, yeah, Cameron Wake, Siles G. White, Sean Ellis, Doomerville. Like you've got so many studs on this list.
Hard to pick, man.
I mean, then you go, oh damn, Joey Porter.
Like Chris Long's on there, Kyle Vandenbosch, bro. So Darius Smith is on there. Like these are all like
That's Kyle Vandenbosch in a Lions jersey, though.
These are all dogs, man.
That's Kyle Vandenbosch at the end. I like Doomerville, if I'm being honest.
So do I. I was gonna pick him because I like Michael Bennett too, though.
Yeah. It's a tough list. It's really, I mean, everybody's got a case for it. Cameron Wake was a beast. Before, is Cameron Wake, was he the first defensive player to get Todd Gurley'd? Or he just ran to the ground by his team?
I mean, if he played for the Dolphins, probably.
I mean, like think about it, because he went so hard for so long and then just completely fell off. Couldn't get healthy because he couldn't get on the sideline to get a breath and get water. Like he was always on the field. And then he didn't finish his career in Miami. I know. I think he went to Tennessee, maybe Tennessee or Houston or something like that. But man, like, ugh.
It's a good list, though. I like
it. It's a fantastic list. So we're both on the. How crazy is that? We've got 16 players listed here. We're both like Doomerville. You gotta love it. Great minds think alike, I suppose, right? Who do you guys think is? Who do you guys think would be the winner here? Maybe we should do it with Buccaneers players.
I think we should do it with Buccaneers players. That would be good.
I'll post that out. People love rankings and doing all that, you know, because everybody's better than you, right? Like that's how everybody always views it. Is like, how many times do you see like, hey, I created a mock draft, and it's like 755 laughing emojis, and you're like, yeah, he didn't even post a picture. There's not even a picture. It just said I made a mock draft, and you're already laughing because you're like, oh, my mock draft's gonna be better. Everybody's always better. They're like their lineups are better. Their picks are better. Rank the Buccaneers wide receivers of all time.
Dude,
you know,
that would be a good list.
I would leave Mike Evans off on purpose.
Yes, and Chris Godwin.
Right, yeah. I don't like to put, if it's like a unanimous person, I don't like to put that on there.
Right.
Because I feel, but then you're always going to get where's Mike Evans?
Where, dude, I think we should make that list.
How do you know it's not already made?
Oh, right then.
Oh.
Where'd you put Keyshawn at?
He's on the list. I'm just saying, like, rank them.
Okay.
And I know Keyshawn is going to be probably listed last for a lot of people just because they hate Keyshawn Johnson.
I think yes, that is very true.
How weird is that? They're like, oh, we hate Brad Johnson. We hate Keyshawn Johnson. You hate everybody from the first Super Bowl run that was on offense?
I don't think anybody hates Brad Johnson. I think everybody hates Keyshawn the most.
I mean, I feel like Brad Johnson has like revitalized himself with like his TikTok takeovers of his trick shots and stuff. Like how cool is that to see like somebody from like the pre-cell phone era, right? Like, and I know that, you know, he played into the early 2000s.
He's embracing his inner like 21st century dad.
Yeah, and dude, I love it though. It's so fun watching him make these trick shots and then watching, you know, what are they called? I think they're called remix videos on TikTok, where he's just like watching the players or watching fans that are sending him these videos like, hey, I got this. You know, to me, that's super cool. And I think that's that fun interactive thing that a lot of players don't necessarily do. You know, there's a lot of people that just like put their stuff out on social media and that's it. Just like put it out there. They don't interact. Brad Johnson's like putting it out there and he's like, hey, no, send it back to me. Send it back to me. I want to talk to you. I want to see what you can do. You know, and I think that makes it fun.
It does make it fun. I like that.
Hell of a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Oh boy. That is going to wrap it up for us on this hump day edition of Channelside in the morning. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. Thanks to Ben Whitelaw from RBLR Sports jumping on here and talking Rays baseball with us. Do you feel better about yourself knowing that you and I still kind of stand alone on a lot of these thoughts?
Yes, I'm okay with but thing with his opinions, that was kind of like I wanted the other side of the coin where it's not like,
Sure.
oh, you guys are fucking stupid or you guys are dumb. I
Yeah.
see what Ben was putting across there was fantastic. That's what I was hoping to get. And
I'm
I'm
100%.
And I'm glad that we stand 1-on-1 alone. Two of two.
Two of one.
And our thoughts about, this team.
Two guys, one thought.
Right. I'd rather be us apart from everybody else to stand out instead of like conforming and stuff like that. So I asked one of my buddies last night before, I know we got a few minutes before we wrap up, about, hey, I want your opinion. He's a diehard Rays fan like I am. And we've been going to the game since the very beginning. I was like, hey, I want your opinion on this. What are your thoughts about, Kevin Cash as a manager? Do you think it's maybe time for him to go? And he goes, well, it's a tough thing to really think about. It's a tough thing to kind of, say if he could be gone, because he's like, look at what he has to work with, compared to other managers. Look at the payroll and look at the injuries. He's like, on the other hand, though, maybe it could be a time for a change too. But he's like, I'm stuck in the middle because of, hey, how the season's gone, but also looking at, what could be, in a future sense about if they could find maybe to change it up managerial wise, maybe that other person could get them over the hump. You know what I mean? So
right.
I think it's a lot of discussions Rays fans are maybe too scared to have, because they don't want to say Kevin Cash is a bad manager, even though maybe in the back of their mind is, well, maybe he's not essentially a bad manager, but maybe there could be a time for a change. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's that stigma that this Rays fan base has, though, is the moment you think anything negative, even if it's a realistic thought,
everybody jumps on you and tell you you're wrong.
Right. Like, how many times, like, I feel like it gets lost in translation when we're trying to, like, say, hey, like articulate things. And they're very clear and concise thoughts, but they just get lost in translation because, like, the moment you say Kevin Cash, is like, boom, I see red. This is my guy. I see red.
I'll ask some people. I'm probably going to the game on Thursday. Their last game against the Red Sox, and I'll ask around, and I'll ask the buddies I'm going with too. What are their thoughts?
Yeah, and just see, like we've both said that. We're not saying Kevin Cash is not the guy. We're not saying he is the guy, because we're kind of middle ground as well. But it's like, at some point, something's got to give.
Right. And
in every sport, including baseball, the first person to go is always the skipper or the head coach.
You know what this is? I was thinking about this the other day, Danny. And you remember when the Red Sox, I think, were playing the Yankees in the ALCS in 2002, I think, or 2003, the year before they went and shocked the world and came back from 3-0 and then won the World Series eventually. The year before that, they had Grady Little as their manager. And remember, Grady Little stuck with Pedro in the 9th.
Yep.
And look how that turned out. The next season, he was gone. They had Terry Francona as the new manager.
Yep.
It's almost like a parallel to Kevin Cash in the 6th inning with pulling Blake Snell too early, and then they lose the World Series. Obviously, that could have been so. It harkens to me. It's like, if this was maybe another organization, he would have been gone. Just like how the Red Sox got rid of Grady Little and went with Terry Francona, and Terry Francona got them to a World Series, not one, but two.
Right. And only one manager of the year once.
Yeah. But hey, those are more valuable than World Series titles.
To some people, it seems like it is.
Yeah.
I don't like, and if that's the hill you want to die on, that's fine. But I'm 100% in agreement that there is no reason why you shouldn't have the same mentality that Ben has of World Series or bust. When you've got, it doesn't, because you immediately start retracting those thoughts, going, yeah, but we didn't spend a lot of money. We don't spend money. Like, right, but you just talked about we were in the World Series 2 years ago. So are you saying that we're overachieving? How long do you want this team to just overachieve instead of just being a good, solid team?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But hey, we'll keep talking.
9 a.m.
You guys.
9 a.m., buddy. That's going to do it for us on this Wednesday edition of Channelside in the morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network. Once again, thank you to Ben Whitelaw from RBLR Sports jumping on here and talking Rays baseball with us. Look us up on all the social media platforms. Just search for the Channelside Sports Network. Hopefully you enjoyed this show. If you didn't enjoy the show, I'm thinking bad thoughts, but please let us know. We're always looking to improve.
I was thinking of that too, but yeah.
Always looking, we are the fan voice for Tampa Bay. I have no problem saying that because everybody else copies us already and we're already making noise. So what the hell? We will do it all over again tomorrow. I am Danny. That is Evan. See ya.